Welcome to Nine's Late News. I'm Kate Creedon. These are your headlines this Wednesday night. Twists and turns in the Iran soccer team drama. More women choose to stay, then one changes her mind, sparking a security scare. Why the war is putting Australians on track for 2 more rate rises this year. The urgent action putting petrol stations on notice for price gouging. Breaking now, lives in danger as an out-of-control bushfire burns east of Perth. The desperate search for 2 backpackers missing in the Queensland flood zone. And is the breakup over? Reports Kyle and Jackie O are back in contact.
This is 9 News with Kate Creedon.
Good evening. A defection, a backflip and a security breach. There are new twists tonight in the Iranian soccer team asylum saga. One player who originally wanted to stay in Australia now plans to return home despite fears of severe retribution. That last-minute about-face exposing her teammates' secret safe house to the Iranian embassy, forcing our government to intervene.
5 becomes 7 as another player and a staffer from the Iranian women's soccer team seek asylum in Australia. But it's now back to 6. All smiles last night, but player Mohadessa Zolfi today had a sudden change of heart.
One of the 2 who had made the decision to stay last night had spoken to some of the teammates who had left and had changed her mind.
An about-face which has caused a major security risk as the 21-year-old contacted the Iranian embassy and gave up their secret location in Brisbane.
The Iranian embassy now knew the location of where everybody was. I immediately gave the instruction for people to be moved.
The other members of the squad who chose to leave have arrived in Kuala Lumpur. Their departure from Australia, a huge security operation and an emotional ride for supporters who fear the worst once they're back in Iran.
Because I'm a woman and I know what's going to happen to these girls, they were facing that penalty.
And before they boarded the flight out of Sydney, there was one final offer to stay as they passed through immigration.
They were given a chance, taken into interview rooms without any minders present, and they were given a choice.
And there was trepidation, just like yesterday when one of the players had to be led onto the bus. A team member balked getting on the plane. Sydney Morning Herald reporter Amber Schiltz witnessed the drama.
She walked away with officers to have a final conversation with her family to help her make her decision, but ultimately decided to come on the flight and walked on the flight in tears and was embraced by her teammates.
And when they made it to Malaysia, the Iranian regime was watching.
The women were met right as they exited the plane by the Iranian ambassador to Malaysia. So immediately there was that sense of being escorted, maybe being surveilled.
On Iranian state television, Australia is the one being accused of holding the players hostage. So tonight, travel arrangements are being made for the player who wanted to defect but now wants to go home. What prompted her change of heart is unclear. Supporters can only speculate. Her family has been threatened.
It was so sad because, you don't understand, you're living in a free country, right?
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
For more, let's bring in National Affairs Editor Andrew Probert. Andrew, good evening. This story has garnered attention right around the world. Has the government made the right call here?
Look, undoubtedly, Kate, I think this was the right call. As you say, there was a lot of pressure from the Iranian community, but more than that, as soon as they didn't sing the national anthem, they didn't salute in that first game of the Asian Cup, they had made themselves the target of the Iranian regime. We know that there was some concern about the fact that the Iran women's team had come out with people who were linked to the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, a feared organisation that rules Iran with an iron fist. So they were going to be potentially targets from that moment on. So I think it was inevitable that efforts were made to offer asylum to the team. And we know now that those efforts were indeed made, but only 7 took that offer. and now it's down to 6. So anyway, this is still got some developing to go, this story.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, for those women, the 6 women who have chosen to stay, what does the future look like for them?
Well, I think first of all that they need to be assured that they are safe. Remember, they're from they've gone through perhaps one of the most traumatic events of their lives, making a very big decision. This is an enormous change for their life pathway, and so that they initially have to be assured that they are safe here. Now, there's going to be great anxiety with these 6 brave women that they are going to be safe, but they are going to be very, very anxious about what happens at home. And those sorts of assurances, I don't think that the government or Home Affairs or even the Iranian community can properly give. We'll have to pray that their families are safe back home. But I think trying to get them back into normal life will be the priority.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge risk, but of course, I guess for these women, some sense of relief, but then also knowing that many of their teammates are going now back to Iran. I mean, what happens to those players that are returning?
Well, this is perhaps the biggest test of the Iranian regime, because there was a government-aligned podcaster who was saying that they should be punished because they were traitors when they didn't sing the national anthem and didn't salute. So will that carry through to those who've gone home? We'll have to wait and see. But there have been assurances from the Iranian regime's spokesman, Esmail Baghai, that they will be welcomed home. Who knows? It's important to note that when Iran did fly them out of Australia, they flew them out through Malaysia. Now, Malaysia is not a signatory to the Refugee Convention. So any of those brave women who perhaps would have thought maybe I should seek asylum here in Malaysia, well, it was too late by then. They wouldn't have been recognised, and indeed they were, as we've seen, escorted by the Iranian ambassador to Malaysia. But I think that we can only just hope that they are treated with humanity. And sadly, what we've seen over decades and the brutal last few weeks, the Iranian regime has got no good record when it comes to human rights. They've killed 30 to 40,000 beautiful young Iranians who've been protesting the regime. So let's all hope that these women escape that fate.
Yeah, thoughts definitely with them and, of course, their families. National Affairs Editor Andrew Probyn, thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Mortgage holders across the country are tonight being faced with the potential of 2 more rate hikes when the RBA board meets next week and again in May. With me now is Scott Phillips, Chief Investment Officer at the Motley Fool. Scott, good evening. This is the last thing many Aussies want to hear in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Who's predicting these rate rises?
Kate, good evening. 2 of the big 4 banks, National Australia Bank and Westpac, have put their reputations on the line and said the Reserve Bank will increase rates when they announce that decision next Tuesday. By the way, the other 2 of the big 4 banks saying it's going to be May if it's not now. So the question really is it next week or in 7 weeks' time? Of course, no one knows for sure. The Reserve will do whatever it sees fit. But at the moment, at least, the inflation data plus global uncertainty pointing to a higher interest rate, if not sooner, certainly later.
OK, so what are the chances of the RBA handing out a supersized hike next week, hiking up the cash rate by 0.5%?
It's possible, right? I mean, it's unlikely, given they've sat on their hands while inflation has already been at this level, 3.8% for 3 of the past 4 months. They haven't seen fit to pull the emergency brake glass window just yet. Now, what we will see, I think, though, is a response to oil prices. And I suggest at this point, we really don't know what that will look like by this time next week. Best odds, probably a rate increase, maybe flat, almost certainly then one in May. They'll only give us a 50 basis point, a 0.5% interest rate increase if they see the situation is really, really dire. They may, probably not the most likely scenario though.
So should we get a rate rise of 25 basis points next week? This is how much more mortgage holders will be paying, $91 more for a loan of $600,000. With last month's hike, that adds up to $181 in repayments. What impact will this have on inflation and, more importantly, the economy broadly?
Yeah, and possibly the same again the 6 weeks after that, right? So we're talking about really significant increases over time. Bottom line is we hope it has an impact, because that's why they're doing it. If they put rates up and there is no impact on inflation, that is the worst of all worlds, right? Because at least with inflation coming down, it reduces the pricing pressure for average households. But that's the key question. It should hopefully do that. You mentioned the economy, though. That's the flip side of this one. An interest rate increase is supposed to reduce demand. It's supposed to dampen down demand, let supply catch up, let prices normalise. But that reduction in demand does have an economic impact for businesses, for jobs. This is the RBA's really significant task, balancing all those competing interests, but mostly trying to get inflation under control.
Yeah, we'll be hunkering down and counting all of our pennies. And Scott, of course, this week we've also been talking about oil prices going up and supply shortages in certain parts of the country. Are we likely to see an uptick in EV sales?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably, yeah. I mean, we know that's economics 101, right? Supply and demand, prices matter, incentives matter. And so, yes, I'm absolutely sure, given the shortages, given the prices, around a few kitchen tables over the next couple of weeks, people are going to look at that and say, well, we're talking about buying a new car. Maybe an electric car is the way to go. I've seen plenty of people on social media tell us how happy they are. They have to stop and fill up at the pump as they drive past and smile and wave. So, yeah, I would not be surprised at all if more households are considering an EV as a result of the last couple of weeks.
Might be the smart choice. Scott Phillips from the Motley Fool, thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Kate.
Meanwhile, Australia's consumer watchdog is taking urgent steps to stop service stations taking advantage of the conflict by inflating petrol prices. Madison Scott joins me in the studio. Maddie, fuel companies have been put on notice.
Kate, the ACCC is calling an emergency meeting with retailers. Recent price hikes by service stations will be put under the microscope, and any deceptive behaviour will be investigated. We are seeing unleaded skyrocket. This petrol station in Armidale in New South Wales, Northern Tablelands, selling it at $3.39 a litre. Now, to increase transparency, the watchdog will begin weekly market updates. The ACCC is also urgently exploring ways they can assist with diesel distribution in regional areas. From farmers to motorists, Kate, this fuel crisis is affecting all corners of our country.
Maddie, thank you. To WA now, where a bushfire emergency is threatening lives and homes in the Perth Hills. Live to Jenny Sean. Jenny, buildings have already been destroyed.
A number of sheds, Kate, as well as a derelict home. An evacuation centre is open tonight at the Mundaring Arena as crews continue to battle the blaze, which has burnt through more than 70 hectares. Authorities evacuating residents late this afternoon. These pictures from our news helicopter showing just how close flames came to homes, impacting sheds and an abandoned home. A crucial evacuation route along Great Eastern Highway was also shut down. Crews finally getting the upper hand hours after it started.
We currently have 160 personnel on site with approximately 50 fire appliances from both volunteer and career fire and rescue.
Investigations are still ongoing, the fire being ruled as accidental tonight, believed to be sparked by machinery, Kate.
All right, Jenny, we'll leave you there and head to Queensland, where Ned Baum has developing news on the state's flood emergency. Ned, police are searching for 2 missing backpackers.
Yeah, good evening, Kate. Well, police are searching in the area just west of Kilkeevan, which is near Gympie, just north of the Sunshine Coast, where it's believed that they have found a vehicle that they believe belongs to 2 Chinese backpackers, a 26-year-old man and a 23-year-old woman, who were travelling from Brisbane to the North Burnett region. But police say that vehicle is caught in an area that the terrain is so treacherous they haven't been able really to get to the car yet to determine if those 2 people are in the car or if they managed to get to safety. So that's an ongoing operation that will continue throughout the night, both with police and the SES involved. Looking further north to the flooding up in Bundaberg, that's been hit really hard. The Burnett River peaked at around 7.4 metres last night. That is lower than what they expected, but the damage is still extremely widespread. We've seen footage of just how fast that river has been flowing, sending boats crashing into each other, sending belongings way downstream. And thankfully, though, it is receding now and it is below that major flood level of 7 metres, but it may not be for another week until we really know the extent of the damage. And the damage across the state is widespread. Even looking into the Western Downs, the town of Chinchilla, well, police have issued an emergency declaration tonight, especially for areas like Charlie's Creek, which is expected to peak at around 6.6 metres, potentially even getting up to 6.8 metres tomorrow. And police are heading door to door as we speak this evening, warning people about the dangers that may come and seeing if they have a plan in place. So there is plenty to monitor across the state as this flooding emergency continues. Kate?
It sure is, Ned. Thanks for the update. The first results of today's NAPLAN tests are in, and it's a massive fail after a nationwide online system outage. Penelope Liersch joins me now from Melbourne. Penny, more than 1 million students were left in limbo.
Kate, there was close to 1.5 million students in years 5, 7 and 9 who were affected by this in various ways around the country today. Now, not every student sitting the test was affected, but it was essentially a crash within the NAPLAN system. Laptops started to show issues as they were trying to get into their writing exercise this morning. It all depends on where students were time zone wise around the country as to how and when they were affected. But we saw by about 9:30 Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time, principals being sent text messages asking them to pause the testing if their school was being affected, as the independent body that runs these tests tried to essentially reboot the system and get things working again. We did see it fixed within around 2 hours, and while the body has taken responsibility, they say it is not a flawed system.
I do want to also recognise up front that this has caused disruptions in a significant number of schools, and for that we apologise unreservedly.
Now, we have seen teachers' unions coming out saying this shows there is an issue with the NAPLAN testing system. Also, some Greens MPs saying that mass testing isn't shown to be having good results or improving the results for students around the country. But from what we know, it is expected NAPLAN testing will continue as normal tomorrow, certainly here in Victoria, Kate. So hopefully things go a little better for those students.
Penny, thank you. When we return, New South Wales rocked. An earthquake hits the state felt as far as Sydney. Police renew their search for missing 4-year-old Gus Lamont. Plus, more babies and more barbecues. The new national leader shares his vision for Australia. Live on 9 and streaming on 9 Now. We'll be back with more right after this. Rural Fire Service cameras have captured a 4.4 magnitude earthquake southwest of Sydney. The tremor was recorded just a few hours ago at a depth of 11 kilometres near Burrawa in New South Wales Hilltops region. More than 5,500 people reported feeling it. Police are conducting a fresh search for missing 4-year-old Gus Lamont in South Australia's mid-north. Here's Samantha Hogan.
The task force has spent the day at several sites of interest. Their focus on whether floodwaters from several days ago may have washed away soil and exposed areas that have previously been searched after Gus Lamont disappeared from his family's Oak Park homestead in September last year. A shearing shed about 30 kilometres west of that homestead revisited today, with detectives expected to sweep Oak Park Station tomorrow.
The recent significant weather event up there with the rain we've had is leading to us assessing what other new opportunities might exist in relation to searching.
The last time police searched the family homestead, Gus's grandparent Josie Murray was arrested for firearms offences unrelated to Gus's disappearance. Police say they do have a suspect in this case, but it's not either of Gus's parents. Only a fortnight ago, we heard from his mum and dad for the first time about their heartbreak, the pair desperate for anyone with information to contact police.
One of Jeffrey Epstein's properties is being searched following allegations it was used to bury the bodies of young women. Whilst the claims have never been verified, an investigation into the secluded New Mexico ranch was reopened following the recent release of the Epstein files. Purchased by the late pedophile in 1993, the property features a hilltop mansion and private runway. The Queen has shared a message to survivors of domestic and sexual violence to mark International Women's Day. Former Prime Minister Julia Gillard was in the crowd of politicians, actors and survivors at the London reception.
To every survivor of every kind of violence, many of whom have not been able to tell their stories, who have not been believed. Please know that you are not alone.
The royal family's response to the Epstein scandal is under the microscope amid allegations against former Prince Andrew and his involvement with the late convicted pedophile. Just over a week after their official split, Kyle and Jackie O are tonight reported to be back in contact. Callum Jasper is the media writer for the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age and joins me now. Callum, another day and it seems another chapter of the saga. What's the latest?
We're hearing this evening that the two are back in contact. The way that it was put to Sandilands was that in order to save his own contract after Henderson's had already been terminated last week would be it was this term to remedy the situation. Now, the understanding we had was that that meant to get the pair back on air together.
So where does that leave Kyle Sandilands?
So this is sort of the mystery to an extent because no one really knows exactly what that term remedy means, and no one really knows where Kyle Sandilands is left without Jackie O. Henderson. Now, the services agreement they had with ARN signed in 2023. That's the $200 million deal over 10 years, which has been much publicised. In order to get that $100 million, or his half of the $200 million, has to deliver the Kyle and Jackie O show. Now, the difficulty is where does that leave him if Jackie O Henderson isn't employed by the same company?
Of course, there's so many theories going around about what's happening here. Is there a chance that perhaps this has all been orchestrated?
Look, you can't say definitively. People I was speaking to this evening who are in contact with Sandilands and Henderson certainly seem to have formed the view that ARN took this as an opportunity to try and exit that deal, which still has 9 years to run. And, you know, if you were sort of to play out the maths a little bit, around $180 million left to pay out.
Yes, well, the saga continues and we'll just have to wait for the next instalment. Callum Jasper, the media writer from The Age and Sydney Morning Herald, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Kate.
You're watching Nine's Late News. Straight ahead, Katy Perry versus Katy Perry, a decision in the epic legal battle between the Aussie fashion designer and global music star, and an activewear brand fined for spamming customers. Aussie fashion designer Katy Perry has won an almost 2 decades-long legal fight against the global pop star who goes by the same name. Our Katy Perry took the trademark case all the way to the High Court, which today ruled in her favour. Now going by the name of Katie Taylor, the business owner says it was never about a name, but standing up for small businesses in Australia. Let's get here to finance now. Looking at the markets, and it's red across the board. At home, the All Ords closed 52 points higher. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones falling by 34 points, and in London, the FTSE is 61 points lower. Checking the Aussie dollar against the major currencies right now, buying 61 euro cents, 71 US cents, and 113 Japanese yen. On to commodities. Gold is at $5,100 US an ounce. Silver is at 86, and oil is just below $88 US a barrel. Matt Canavan is tonight the new National Party leader following David Littleproud's shock resignation late yesterday. Federal politics reporter Emily Saunders has more.
Bring focus back to Australia. That was Matt Canavan's key message after winning the support of his party room. The firebrand senator is now the National Party leader. Gippsland MP Darren Chester taking over as deputy from Kevin Hogan. Matt Canavan is the first to lead the party from the upper house, and his appointment has been publicly well received from his colleagues in the party and the coalition. Angus Taylor saying the new team will provide strong leadership. As for Matt Canavan's new Pictures leader, he says he wants to renew focus on the country and all it can create.
All we need to do to revive our great nation is to have more Australia. We need to have more Australian farming, more Australian manufacturing, more Australian jobs. We need to have more Australian everything. We need to manifest a hyper Australia here. We need to go hyper Australia for our country. We need more Australian babies.
The new leader facing his first test, though, in a matter of weeks, trying to win back Susan Lee's seat of Farrer for the Nationals in a by-election in May. He's up against a surgent One Nation, which includes his former boss, Barnaby Joyce, the pair friends that are now foe on the political battlefield.
And I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be fun for all of us.
I mean, Pauline has been in politics for more than double the time I've been. And I struggle to point to a single dam, single road, single hospital that Pauline has delivered.
Matt has to realise I'm not his enemy. To work with One Nation and to achieve what most people out there want is a change of government.
Both parties, though, are now facing another challenger on the right, billionaire Clive Palmer, announcing he'll take another tilt for a spot in Parliament, running for a Gold Coast seat in the next federal election.
Activewear giant Lululemon has been fined more than $700,000 for breaching spam laws. The chain was found to have sent more than 370,000 marketing emails that did not include an unsubscribe feature. Stay with us, your weather details are next as we take a look at Sydney Harbour, where right now it's 24 degrees. We have breaking news out of the Middle East. Pictures coming into the newsroom of a Thai freight ship on fire in the Iran-controlled Strait of Hormuz after being hit by a projectile. Thai authorities say 3 crew members are missing. 20 have been rescued so far. Taking a look at the weather around the country tomorrow, a warm and sunny day on the way for Brisbane, 34 degrees, clouds developing in Sydney, 27, sunshine for Canberra 2, 26, a shower or 2 for Melbourne, 19, some cloud about in Adelaide, 23, and mostly sunny in Perth, a top of 28. Before we go, here's a quick look at what's coming up on Today.
Tomorrow, Mum's Gone Wild. We go aboard the cruise just for mums and they're ready to cut loose.
Plus, we meet the girls ditching the apps to find love the old-fashioned way.
Thanks, team. If you missed anything from tonight's bulletin, you can catch up on 9 Now. That is 9's late news for this Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Kate Creedon. Thanks for your company. Have a great night.